even though God showed me her, I was still walking according to my preference. I liked light-skinned, long hair, petite models, you know, all that crazy nonsense. I like what I like. Although it's called Dear Future Wifey, it is a humiliation ritual for Christian women. Men jump on here boldly and with their whole chest talk about how they settled for their wives. What he has never featured on his podcast is a woman giving an hour-long interview about the many ways she dogged her husband out, but how God came in, changed her heart, and they have a beautiful love story. It's struggle love with Bible verses attached to it. It glorifies being a wife over dignity, self-respect. It makes it seem like if you could pray hard enough, you'll get you a man. Even a man who didn't initially want you. Men have always tried to get women to settle. Now you're trying to say God wants us to settle too? Not the same God that said he would give us the desires of our heart. Most of us desire a man who's initially attracted to us, who wants us initially, who doesn't have to be prayed into loving us. You never tell men to endure mistreatment by a woman who didn't want them. You never tell them to pray and pray that God will change their heart and their mind. You never do that to men, but you always do it to women.
Listen, it's a crazy one. Let me be honest with you. I don't know. I have to watch the whole video of that particular video, right? Because I think there's a context to it, and the word preference is probably what's causing the issue. Whether he, you know, whether it's a preference or it's necessarily his type, it's two different things, right? He preferred those type of women, but he might have been more open. I think we all have preferences. Personally, I think we all have preferences. I think that's a reality of the situation, right? We all have preferences. Whether we can get those preferences is another story. What I didn't hear from him is saying that he wasn't attracted to this woman, right? What I didn't hear from him was mistreatment of this woman. What I didn't hear from him was him, putting her in uncomfortable positions. What I didn't hear was him messing her around. What I didn't hear from him was him saying, you know what, there was other women that I wish that I would have gone for, but did it? Do you know what I mean? If I hear that, then it's a different story. Now, I haven't watched the whole video, so I need to go back and watch it. But I do take into account what she's actually saying. There is far too many of the stories. I don't know if that's on Dear Future Wifey. He has 500 episodes. If you can only locate 5 of those episodes, that's like 1%, right? So if you got 5 episodes where there's struggle love, that's only 5. That's only 1%. You know what I'm saying to you? So there are gonna be those struggle stories because they're always struggle stories. That's just life in general. Whether we're Christians or not Christians, there are struggle stories. So we have to make it very clear that we're not making a generalization of something and making it larger than it actually is. If it's not the full percentage, if there is 100 episodes where there's struggle love, then we've got a different story, right? Now we've got 1/5. We've got 20% of the videos. That's another story. And even then, it will still be the minority, not the majority. You would need at least over 250 episodes of struggle love for it to be a case of where we have to look at the platform. That's why I haven't spoke about the platform. I'm speaking specifically about the stories, because the stories themselves, if there's only 5 episodes or 10 episodes that are actual struggle love, I can't talk about the platform because there were always going to be struggle love stories. That whether you're Christian or not Christian, we know people who are not Christian who have struggle love stories. Whether they're black, they're white, whatever. Do you know what I'm saying to you? So I want to be very clear about that. But the point still must be taken. We don't want to hear stories of struggle love. And if you are in that struggle love, I need you to really look at it again. Do you know what I'm saying to you? That being said, there are always messy stories. Like when God is invested in transforming stories, there's a lot of stories that are messy. Like there's a lot of stories where there's overlapping, it's not clean. You know what I'm saying to you? Certain things not right. Listen, I've been in my own story, so I know it's not perfect, but I take into account what she said. I don't want no one saying to me that they didn't choose me or they didn't rate me or I wasn't necessarily their type per se. Yeah, I'm gonna look at you some way. You know what I mean? There can be things where someone says, I didn't think I was gonna date this kind of person, or I didn't date this kind of person. Because you know what I mean? Like we all have them situations. I was like, nah, I didn't think that would be my person, right? Which is why I think he's trying to go to. But now he described the physical attributes. That might be a little bit tricky. Let's just play a little bit of clip. I think I've got a little clip here. So let me just try and get into this clip so we can play it. And then
I didn't want to be the typical dude off the street.
Let's play it in here. Let's go. I want to play a little bit of clip. I'm not going to play the whole thing. I'll do a whole breakdown another day. And I'll break it down as to what he actually was saying in this aspect of context. And that's very important.
Again, until March 17th, 2021, during a pandemic.
So, okay. So hold on. So Ryan.
Yes, sir.
You see this beautiful woman on stage. You walk. Right. No, let me ask you. What did you think when you saw her? What was your motive when you went to approach her?
To be honest with you, I was tired. I was in a season where God said, just be ready for your wife. So I went to this concert. I was invited. And long story short, as I sat there, he gave all of his background singers an opportunity to get a piece of the song. So 2 of them stuck out to me.
Now let's pause it right here. The season of him saying he was tired, there's a lot of people like this. This is not. I think we have to be very careful. I think we need more nuance here and more. And I'm not going to get on him because I think we need to have a bit more broad perspective. When we say that we're tired, what does that mean? It means we get to a place where sometimes we realize the things that we're doing isn't working. There are many women like that. There's many women like that, many men like that who are like, I've been doing it my own way. I've been realizing that I've been doing it the way that I want it to be. I want it to be this way. And God has been telling me that is not the way. You know what I'm saying to you? So I actually get that perspective. I don't want to jump him on that. Like if he says she wasn't attractive, yeah, we're going to look at him some way.
One guy's name was Chris, and then the other was Kanita. And so afterwards, I'm thinking in my mind initially, if they ever come back to Detroit, I might need them in the studio, might work on some records. So I introduced myself to the both of them, and after that, I left. And so when I introduced myself to Kanita, I didn't want to be the typical dude off the street, let me get your number in church, what I'm saying? So I just made it simple. I said, you know what, if you're on Facebook, I'll connect with you there. If you on social media, I'll leave it there. If it's more, cool. If it's not, cool.
So hold on, but so you was open to more.
I was open to more, but it wasn't my initial
original intent.
Yeah. See, I was in that time, even though God showed me her, I was still walking according to my preference. I liked light-skinned, long hair, petite models, all that crazy nonsense. I like what I want. And
so it sounds like he was in a bit of a warfare because for him, he had a preference, a physical preference, which it happens, right? Sometimes you're fleshly and you're not thinking spiritually. That doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that you can't find someone else attractive. It means that your desire, your natural curve desire is for a light-skinned woman, not me personally, but it's a light-skinned woman or whatever. And again, that's on him. That's what he wants. That's what he liked at the time. That's the fleshly desire that he had. But he wasn't thinking with spiritual eyes, it seems like. He seemed like he was following his carnal perspective, right? But someone can also interpret it as he couldn't get those women. And that's why, right? We don't know. He hasn't really expanded into whether he was dating those women and it wasn't working. Because he might have been dating those women and it wasn't working. You know what I'm saying to you, right? So I also get that too. You feel what I'm saying to you?
Oh, the Lord had to show me that that's where I was at. I was just in that season. I was open to what God had for me, but I was still walking according to my preference.
That's good.
And it wasn't until I said, okay, man, I surrender. I'm tired of meeting them my way. I need to meet someone, Lord, according to your way. And so as I was at the concert, man, she caught my attention, but I said, okay, let me keep it moving. So after that, man, over the 7 years, it wasn't until year 6, I think I said happy birthday to her. And the year before I even, reached back out initially.
Okay, so there was a period of time where they also weren't talking because, of course, he had the number, but it was more businessy, and he obviously was playing the field. It was out there. We've all been there. We've all been there where you're like you're not looking at that person because you're focused elsewhere. You're doing other things. You're outside of that realm. You know what I'm saying to you, and it's hidden. Many people's stories like this. The person that they actually probably meant to marry, they're hidden from them. You know what I'm saying? The eyes are not opened. Again, I'm not really hearing anything that's necessarily too bad. I can see how someone could interpret that way, but again, I'm not going to go down that lane because I don't think I'm hearing that as of such.
To even approach her. So
you just watching her stories, or watching her.
Yeah, he was watching me. He actually DM'd me a couple of times, and I never saw them.
I did. She ignored me, man.
I never saw his DM.
And so this is why I said that the video needs to be longer on the other woman's video because it actually needed more context. Actually, he was being ignored. As he was trying, he was actually being ignored in that particular space. So he actually was wanting her, but he couldn't get her because he was being ignored. And not in a bad way that she was ignoring him. She just wasn't aware. She didn't know that the text messages were coming through. So again, a little bit more context to the story.
No, she didn't see it.
So this is there's a word even in that because some of us sisters are praying for husbands and they actually in your DMs. You got to go check them.
Right.
But I didn't see those at a particular time. And so he had sent me a couple of messages that I didn't notice until the week I actually saw when he messaged me on March 17th. But prior to that, he had sent a message like, "You look so beautiful today," and another one was a happy birthday message.
Yep. And so to fast forward to us meeting now the real DM.
Yeah, let me hear that.
The real
DM was. So I had just gotten out of a relationship some time after that. I think the year prior. So in 2019, I just broke up with someone who I thought I was going to marry, and I was in love. So I thought I was happy. I was excited. And the Lord had to show me that I was in a season where I had a lot of choices. And
now, again, this is context. This is why I said that video needs a little bit more longer. The context of the situation is that he was already in a relationship with someone. So I'm guessing he was in a relationship with his preference, right? It didn't work out once more again, and it didn't work. So he had to move on. You know what I mean? Like it happens. You end up having to move on. And it's not the right kind of person for you. You realize that you have to kind of move around. And this is not it. You know what I'm saying to you? Some of us got stuck on batty and breasts and realize that's not it. Keep moving around. You're too sexual, coach. Think about it differently. You know what I'm saying to you? And then obviously then we have the situation where now he's going to look in a different direction. I don't think it's one of those stories. I think, again, with too much struggle love, I don't think this is one of those
The Lord
stories.
spoke to me. I was frustrated. I'm like, man, why didn't it's not always working out? And God said, Ryan, when you have a lot of choices, don't make a choice. And I'm like, what do you mean, Lord? Look at this buffet of women out here. You know,
said, have a lot of choices, don't make a choice. That would frustrate the mess out of
right,
me.
right. And so, and it wasn't until I went into prayer, man, and I sought the Lord, and I was reminded of even years before. I was always, I was divorced for 9 years. So every day in my apartment, I would write on an empty plate my desires from the Lord. I wrote out what I wanted spiritually, emotionally, physically, sexually. I wanted everything that God has for me according to purpose. And so I was reminded of that plate. And God said, when you have a lot of choices, meaning an option between one or two or more people, he said, you don't make a choice until you meet someone that doesn't leave you another choice. Now you make her a decision. And many women.
Hold on.
Yes, sir.
All right, listen. Look, we're gonna have to do a whole video on this. You know what I'm saying to you? Again, I'm not hearing necessarily the struggle love in this situation. I'm hearing somebody who had to change the way they thought and change the way they were thinking. So in this instance, I don't want to label this one as a one of those ones. I think this one is actually not that particular one. But we'll do a whole video next week. This weekend I'm a bit busy, but we'll do it for next week and do a whole longer version, because I think we do need to, of course, highlight the stories that are struggle love and let people know this is not it. But I don't know if this is one of them. I think this actually might be a really good story. But let me know your thoughts down below. Like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification of uploads. We appreciate you. Stay locked and loaded.